Hello everyone, this is Charles and Sybil with Love Dare Devotional Day 12.
And today's devotional is Love Lets the Other
Win. Our verse for today is Philippians 2 and 4. Do not merely look out for your own personal interest, but also for the interest of others.
No, I need to look out for my own interest.
No.
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 Okay. No, I can resist. One of the things he talks about here is being stubbornness, especially when you're beginning to have potential conflicts or disagreements, let us add to that. And there are going to be times that definitely happens, but we used to kind of get into this thing as to, oh, who's going to win? Who's going to have the last word? And I would be so stubborn sometime I was going to make sure I had the last word, because I said it as I left and walked out the door.
That's so true. If you were asked to name 3 areas where you and your spouse disagree, we can often do that without even thinking about it.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick.
Usually.
And you probably could do a top 10 list if somebody gave you a few more minutes, right?
Oh, well, it'd take you all day to try to find 2 things y'all really agree on for real.
Yeah, but he talks about in the book how if you don't squash some of the things that you disagree with, then they'll tend to keep resurfacing in your relationship. You ever thought, man, this is something we always fight about. One of those words, you know. We never resolve this. Here we go again.
It's like a piece of wood in the water of our life. Every time you pull it down, it just right back up to the top.
And it talks about stubbornness and how sometimes usually it's a standard feature with husbands and wives. And sometimes stubbornness is seen as, I'm just defending myself. I have a right to an opinion. That's just what I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. And sometimes if we begin to think our opinion counts more than what we're really talking about, it really doesn't solve anything. It's not contributing to what's going on. I just want to make sure I get my side out. And I can say, you can always tell when your opinion becomes more important than the conversation, when you're already thinking about what you're saying before the other person finishes.
Yeah. Now, having an opinion is good for some things, of course. You know, we have to set priorities. We all have morals, and our obedience to God. Those are things that we should be, quote unquote, stubborn about. Those are things we shouldn't give ground on.
Absolutely.
But anything that's not attacking your morals, your obedience to God, or your priorities, let it go. Because most of the times we're debating over very trivial and, you know, things that if we didn't argue about them, it wouldn't change our course.
It just wouldn't make a difference.
Would not make a difference.
They serve no consequence whatsoever. But they really seem important when you're talking about them.
Yeah.
I mean, you like practice on what you were going to say all day at work.
Yeah.
You can't waste all that time you hadn't done your work.
Right.
Because you've been sitting there thinking about, when I get home, I'm going to tell her this in this exact order so I can make sure I'm on win.
And they give examples like having more children. You know, just, hey, you want some more kids?
No.
Not anymore. See, that's the end of it.
That was already done.
Or somebody may prefer to homeschool the kids,
right?
And the other one doesn't want that.
Right.
So one of you want to go to marriage counseling or get more involved in church, and the other one doesn't. These are things that will tend to come up daily. But the thing about it is, just resolve it.
Yeah, and legitimately, it's not a fact that everybody has to win. If one person loses, really, you all lose. What happens, I learned this in work, that if I win at work, then we all win together. So the goal is to win together.
Right.
If we can win together, then we win. If I win in the relationship, we might lose.
Right.
And then ultimately, we're not satisfied. Because when you win some of those arguments, you have momentary, fleeting evidences of joy and bliss.
Momentary.
You're momentary, but it won't be long. You look at mama mad. So the moment is over.
That's true. Now that's very, very
true.
Yeah. But what we should bring to these types of things is just an attitude of and a spirit of cooperation.
Right.
So that either one, if you even have to debate it a little bit, somebody knows that, hey, you know, you're just not saying this just so you can have your way. You're not going to agree with me and then beat me over the head with your agreement later on. Well, I told you we shouldn't have, whatever. And you know, you beat, but you agree. Okay, so why are we having this discussion?
I really didn't want to.
Yeah, I really didn't want to.
You should have known I didn't want to.
See,
but I was just I was trying to let you win.
Right. And the one example they give here, and I remember a while back we learned about palm trees, and why palm trees can stand is because they have a tap root. It goes down really, really deep in the ground, and because of that tap root, when the wind comes, a palm will just bend. And that's how we have to do in our relationships. It's not about breaking down, bowing over, can't get back up, being crushed. It's about bending when the winds of discourse or winds of me wanting to be stubborn or winds that I may not win come about. Just bend.
And the taproot says that we are solid, we're solidified in our relationship. That we have enough love between the two of us that when those challenges come or when the disagreements come, we're able to compromise. And the one thing I wrote about compromise here that hit me, I said compromise always has a meeting place called love. And so when you're compromising, I'm excited because when we get through compromising, we get to make up. Making up is good, boy, I tell you.
You are hilarious. It talks about this verse in Philippians 2 and 5. And it says, have this attitude in yourselves, which is also in Christ Jesus. The attitude of willingness, flexibility, and humble submission.
You want to have the mind of Christ. You know, He came not to be served, but to serve. And if you carry that attitude in your relationship, when both of you all are striving for those two things, it's amazing. Like I said, compromise will meet at the point of love, and you'll find yourself moving toward each other because both of you all have the same idea.
The wise and loving thing to do is to start approaching your disagreements with a willingness not to always insist on your own way. Not necessarily that your mate is right or even being wise, but you're choosing to at least give strong consideration to what they're saying, and that just shows you that I value you.
Oh, absolutely. And I said, don't insist, but inspire and engage. So I'm not insisting, let me hear, because if your spouse has a legitimate disagreement that they're passionate about, you may not understand, but take an opportunity, and I really say this to men, listen to your ladies with your heart sometimes. Listen with your emotions. Sometimes we try to be so mental that we don't listen with our emotions. I can tell you this, if she's your completer, she has something to say. Value what that woman has to say.
And no, we're not saying that you'll always agree, because you're not carbon copies of each other. But the point is, I'm willing to listen. And if it makes sense, and it's not, like we said, attacking my obedience to God or my morals, then why not just say, okay.
We can still agree to disagree and move on. That's one of the things we talk about in Striking Conversations. We can agree to disagree, and then we can move on in love, allowing a decision to be made about a particular circumstance, and not willing now to try to bring that thing back up and do the I told you so and kind of wipe your face in it later. But even in love, we'll support the other if the decision came out the way we thought it was, which maybe wasn't going to work, but we loved them through that challenge, and now they're even stronger for the next thing they have to encounter.
And prayerfully, you have such a relationship that even if the decision was a very interesting one, you got interesting results, that even the one that made the decision will be willing to even listen, and both of you can learn. Because what is it we always talk about? Growing in our marriages. Absolutely. And the way to grow is to learn.
Absolutely. Because there are plenty of times when I have to look at her and say, yes, baby, you were right.
And I don't rub his face.
And then I just move right on.
That's right.
That's right.
The day's dare was demonstrate love by willingly choosing to give in to an area of disagreement between you and your spouse. Tell them you're putting their preference first.
So go on out to strikingconversations.com. Be sure to get registered, check out the site, and get ready for tomorrow's lesson, which is day 13. It says what? Love fights fair. Not unfair, but fair. So we'll fairly see you tomorrow. We love you. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.